Alright, this is Skinwalker Ranch from Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia, not to be confused with Skywalker Ranch, alright? It's Skinwalker Ranch, but also known as Sherman Ranch, is a property of approximately 512 acres, that's 207 hectares, located southeast of Ballard, Utah. Where did I hear that name before? Ballard. That is reputed to be the site of paranormal and UFO related activities. Its name is taken from the Skinwalker of Navajo legend concerning vengeful shamans. Again, shamans, that rings a bell, doesn't it? Where did I last see a shaman? Was it on January the somethingth? After a certain completely free and fair and above board and nothing untoward elezione in a certain country that is the most free and above board and perfectly good and cromulent. Now, let me just say, let me start going down then a very quick sort of rabbit hole. If we go into Ballard here, it takes me to Wikipedia, Ballard, Utah, right? So let's have a look. Ballard, Utah is a city in Utina County, Utah, United States. The population was only 801, well, I put in the only there, at the 2010 census, an increase from the 2000 population, the year 2000 population, of 566. What I'm concerned mostly with, though, is this section here. Settled in 1905 and named for Melvin J. Ballard. Well, who, you might ask, is Melvin? Maybe you don't, but I do. I might ask, who is Melvin J. Ballard? Well, here he is. Melvin J. Ballard, born in 1873, but lived till July 1939. So that makes him something around 66, does it, when he died? Something like that. So Ballard attended Brigham Young College, and if you were listening to our live stream there the last week, you'll know that Brigham Young College is in Provo, Utah, and it's named after Brigham Young, who was the successor to Joseph Smith, who was the originator of or founder of the Church of Mormon. Or I think they prefer to be called Church of the Latter-day Saints of Jesus Christ. But I also read somewhere that the Church of the Latter-day Saints is a slightly different denomination of Mormons, or it's a schism from the Mormons, so who knows. But anyway, Ballard, Melvin J. Ballard, graduated from Brigham Young College in Provo, Utah in 1884. But I thought Brigham Young College was a university, from my understanding of it, and he was only born in 1873. So if he graduated in 1884, was he 11? Was he an amazing child prodigy? Or is there a, junior school that he graduated from when he was 11? Weird, isn't it? Well, maybe it's not that weird, but who cares? Because let's move on. Because what does it say about this that leads us on to the next step? So this paragraph here, Melvin Joseph Ballard, he was a member of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles. And what that seems to mean is the 12 governing men of this church, of the church hierarchy. Members of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles are apostles with the calling to be prophets, seers, and revelators. In other words, to reveal things after they've seen things in some kind of spiritual or supernatural sense, because Joseph Smith claimed that he was able to see where gold was buried in the ground by putting a special stone on his forehead and then putting his hat over his face. Anyway, what it says about this fella here, anyway, he was a member of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the LDS Church for short, and his grandson, M. Russell Ballard. So his grandson is Melvin Russell Ballard, whereas this guy's called Melvin Joseph Ballard. Gets a bit confusing. But let's move on to his grandson here. So Melvin Russell Ballard Jr. So Melvin Joseph Ballard must have had a son called Melvin Russell Ballard, who then had another son called Melvin Russell Ballard Jr., born on October the 8th, 1928, is an American businessman and religious leader who is currently the acting president of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the LDS Church. Now, you know, whether people might disagree or agree with the idea of a hierarchy in regards to a monarchy, like kings and queens, who might rule over a nation, well, there's also power in churches. You know, there might be power in the auspices of the state, whether it's democratic, in inverted commas, Republican, whatever, or in some kind of, modern nation state that we consider to be a democracy, especially in the West. We think that there are no dynasties of people, but of course there are, like George H.W. Bush and then his son George W. Bush. And, there are lots of others in politics whose sons or daughters get voted for by name recognition. So more fool the voters then if they just say, oh, the last guy I heard of him, or he was a good man, let's vote the next guy in, he's got the same name. Even sometimes assuming that it's a son, but it isn't. But people sometimes trade their names to trade on the phenomenon of name recognition. Getting them into power, like getting them elected, because people are that most voters are that low information, they don't know who to vote for, but they feel it's their duty to vote, so they're going to go, oh, that name sounds familiar, I'll vote for that. But anyway, there's a religious dynasty there, and I suppose just an open question, do people agree that if there's both, religious power as well as political power, is it right that churches then might just have sort of dynasties there, where the hierarchy has a chain of command that goes down through families? But of course, the other confusing matter is that in Freemasonry, we'll get onto that later, but in Mormonism, there are, well, at least they say that there isn't any more technically, but at least in the past, one of the sort of remarkable, notable features about Mormonism was that a man could have many, many wives. In fact, Brigham Young, who I mentioned earlier about the university, he had 56 wives. So the relationships between people then, between families, can be difficult to trace, and somebody might have many, many more sons and grandsons and daughters than you might expect. Anyway, to get back on topic here, this fellow, Melvin Russell Ballard Jr., who is currently the acting president of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles of the Church of the Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, has been a member of the church's quorum since 1985, and as a member of the Quorum of 12, Ballard is accepted as a prophet, a seer, and a revelator by these church members. In other words, anyone who is a Mormon or an LDS. Currently, he's the most senior apostle in the church. Now, there he is with President Bill Clinton and United States Senator Orrin Hatch. Here's M. Russell Ballard, Melvin Russell Ballard, with President Clinton and that Senator Orrin Hatch in 1993. Okay, now, where does this lead us? I wonder, like, is this guy related to Tim Ballard, Timothy Ballard? I don't know, because the funny thing is, and let's get up Tim Ballard's Wikipedia. It doesn't even give his middle name, right? But let's have a look at his Wikipedia page here. If we scroll down, this biography of a living person relies too much on reference to primary sources and might be contentious about living person, poorly sourced or whatever, But anyway, it gives he was in the CIA. He was in the CIA, and he was or is in the Department of Homeland Security. So they're not going to give you much about his background. And all they say about his background, it doesn't give his middle name, just Timothy Ballard. And his early life, it says Ballard grew up in California. And here in this, section of here, it says he was born in Provo, Utah. Now he went to Brigham Young University. I don't know where La Cañada is, but let's see if I can find out. It says it's a combined junior senior high school located in La Cañada, Flint Ridge in California. So maybe that's to say how he grew up there, if he went to school there, okay. But then he must have returned home in a way. I call it home because it'd be home for Mormons. If not Salt Lake City, Provo also. That's where he went to university, college. And then I suppose he went on maybe to do a postgraduate degree maybe in Vermont, private college there. Anyway, don't want to deviate too much anyway, but, it doesn't say anything really other than that's where he was born. He was born in Provo, Utah, and grew up in California, apparently, right? It doesn't say who his parents are. It doesn't say anything more than that about his background, as you might expect, I suppose, for a CIA or ex, in inverted commas, CIA agent, or ex, in inverted commas, Homeland Security agent. So, back to Russell here. Middle name Russell, sorry. Melvin Russell Ballard. I'm wondering, is this guy his father? I don't know. Or is he his grandfather? I don't know. Or is he related to him? Or is it just a completely different Ballard? But as I said, Mormons could have many, many wives. So it'd be kind of surprising if the two Ballards weren't related somehow. Now, I wanted to see, what's his middle name? Because there's another thing that I won't get into now, but somebody was saying, oh, he's actually this other Tim Ballard. But maybe he's another Tim Ballard. Maybe it's the same Tim Ballard. I don't know. But I'll leave that for another time. The question here is Tim Ballard related to Elder Ballard? Now, it's just elder doesn't just mean, the older Ballard. Right? There's a funny thing in Mormons where they call each other elders, even if they could be only 18 or whatever. I remember when there was two looked like little schoolboys, but they must have been in their early 20s. Used to be always coming around plaguing me, trying to get me to read the Book of Mormon. And they used to call each other, they didn't call each other by their first name, or maybe they did. Maybe they called each other something like, Elder Timothy or whatever his name was, or Elder Brian or whatever, I don't know. Maybe they called each other by their surnames. I can't remember. But that was a sort of a title of pastor so-and-so. It seems to me maybe that's kind of like an equivalent, that in Mormon religion or faith, that somebody who's evangelizing or is kind of priestly or training for their kind of priesthood is called an elder. That's my understanding of it. It could be slightly off there, but that's kind of my understanding of it there. Why do Mormons, if you want to read about that, you can look up, why do Mormons use the term elder for their missionaries? Maybe I didn't use that word already, so I should have missionaries rather than evangelical type people. So I'm not going to read this article. It's by somebody who I'm not even sure exists, called Sanskriti. Does that mean Sanskrit writing? Sounds like a made-up name, and then probably one of the most common Indian names, Singh, by Sanskriti Singh. Is Tim Ballard related to Elder Ballard? Wikipedia and age. This is a template of article. They're weird articles. It says, many people are curious whether Tim Ballard is related to Elder Ballard, due to their shared surname and notable accomplishments in their respective fields. The confusion surrounding the relationship between Tim Ballard and Elder Ballard has been a topic of discussion for many individuals. Due to their shared surname, people often speculate whether these two individuals are related. To clarify this misconception, it is important to delve into the details of the backgrounds and professions. This article aims to shed light on the truth behind the alleged relationship and provide a comprehensive understanding of both Tim Ballard and Elder Ballard. Is Tim Ballard related to Elder Ballard? Jesus, they take their time by getting it to, don't they? I mean, what they're saying is no, right? You can see his believe me look on his face there. Oh, no. Tim Ballard is a dedicated and passionate individual who has made a significant impact through his work in combating child trafficking and exploitation. How could you not believe whatever he says? Anyway, on and on and on and on it goes, right? This Elder Ballard is known for his wisdom and guidance and leadership within the religious community. Whereas Tim Ballard, whose full name is Timothy Ballard, still doesn't give his middle name, so we can't positively identify him, is the founder of Operation Underground Railroad, a non-profit organisation dedicated to combat child trafficking and rescuing children. Well, what's that got to do with whether they're related or not? Because he's trying to say, you see the difference? One guy is this guy and the other guy is this guy. It's just a weird kind of article. Now, maybe it's good that I'm kind of going through it because, there's a very pretty good picture of him. Throughout his extensive career, Elder Ballard, that's Melvin Russell Ballard Jr., even though he's called Elder here, weird, isn't it? Gets a bit confusing. Not just that they all have possibly 56 different family lines or patriarchal lines, however you call it. Has held significant positions within the LDS Church, contributing to its growth and development. Isn't that wonderful? And on it goes. Like this kind of weird, fake, non-compare and contrast that it sets out in a template. Tim Ballard and the Elder Ballard age gap revealed. Well, Tim Ballard was born in the 1970s, is estimated to be in his 40s or 50s. Do we not even know when he was born? Let's go back to his Wikipedia page. My God, it doesn't say his birth date. We don't even have a birth date for him. What a spook. That's incredible, isn't it? Bloody hell. Back here anyway. Estimated to be in the 1970s. Or born, we think, or he says anyway, in the 70s, is estimated to be in the 40s or 50s as of 2023. Meanwhile, Elder Ballard, whose full name is M. Russell Ballard, Melvin, as we know from his Wikipedia entry, is 94. Is he? My God, did I miss that there? When was he born? Born 1928, age 94. Fair enough, right. So we definitely have the right guy there. And so this age difference spans several decades, highlighting the generational gap between the two individuals. Well, look, it's still possible. Kirk Douglas had a kid, I think, when he was in his 70s or 80s. But, that doesn't mean that they're not related. Melvin Russell Ballard could be Timothy Ballard's grandfather, maybe. Who knows? Or great uncle. Again, you'd have to go out of your way to not be related, wouldn't you? To be both from Utah, both called Ballard, both, be associated with the Brigham Young University. Let's just check again. Did this particular guy go to Brigham Young? Oh, maybe he didn't. Maybe it was just his father. But anyway, connected to Provo, Utah. So, Elder Ballard's experience and knowledge are rooted in decades of service and leadership, while Tim Ballard brings a fresh perspective and energy to his work combating child trafficking. It's a weirdly written article, which makes me think, and it's always to a template, I don't think that person exists. That's what I'm going to tell you. Sanskriti Singh loves to keep track of the latest fashion and trends. She follows a lot of celebs as her fashion idol. She works as a freelancer for genius celebs. She is shy, but great at what she does. Her personality can be better portrayed in her articles. What? I think we're looking at an AI article here. It's weird, isn't it? It's the uncanny valley of articles and bios. Weird. But let's move on a little bit anyway. Because I think really the best for last here. So I found this article called anonfamous.substack.com. So it's the Tim Ballard rabbit hole. And there's a lot in this article, but I'm just going to read this segment pertaining to the Ballard family. Melvin J. Ballard. Ballard was ordained an apostle, as we've learned already, and became a member of the Quorum of 12 Apostles on January 7th, 1919. Ballard served in the quorum until his death in 1939. Okay, so far so good. We know that. Then his son, M. Russell Ballard, or grandson rather, has been a member. Funnily enough, we skipped the son there. Maybe that's what happened also to Timothy Ballard. Skipped the son onto the grandson. So he's been a member of the church's Quorum of 12 since 1985. As a member of the Quorum of 12, accepted by... listen, we read this already. You can see it's copied wholesale from Wikipedia. Now, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints acting president, M. Russell Ballard, who is suspected of secretly helping kickstart. So what this is saying here is, it's not sourcing it like Wikipedia would insist on. Says who? Who suspects would be the, I forget what it is, editor's type note in Wikipedia. So I'm not saying this proves anything, but it's asking the same question. The Church of the Jesus Christ and the Latter-day Saints acting president, Melvin Russell Ballard, who is suspected of secretly helping kickstart Timothy Ballard's Operation Underground Railroads Corporation financially, promotes his son's and son-in-law's business venture. Now, is it saying there that Timothy Ballard is his son? Or his son-in-law? Or who is it referring to there where it says his sons and his son-in-law's business venture? And is the business venture he's referring to there the OUR, Operation Underground Railroad? Is that it? Out of LDS Church's administrative building offices. I don't know. It seems to be saying that, but even if it is saying that, it doesn't seem to have any sources. However, from having seen, and that's why I sort of said it was good to have the clear photographs of the guy, Melvin Russell Ballard, because that's pretty obviously him. There he is, and there he is. Sorry, I shouldn't have skipped. I'll go right back to the other one there. There he is, and there he is. So we now have, unless it's a Photoshop, of course, but we have a photograph of Timothy Ballard and Melvin Russell Ballard. What does it call him? The third most important person in the Mormon Church. Third most senior apostle, right, in the Mormon Church, or LDS if they prefer. So we have a photograph of Tim Ballard there with him. And as I say, there's more to it like that than that. There's a link here, and what it leads to is this article here, and we have been, myself and JC, we've been sort of referring to the work that this guy has done into Operation Underground Railroad. He's done a lot. And what I find is that there's usually no better person than to expose the workings of an organization, or a religion, indeed, than somebody who is an ex-member. And of course, you want to take things with a pinch of salt, because you might say, well, they've an axe to grind, maybe they're not being fair and unbiased or whatever, But just for example, and I'll just mention his name and look into him if you have never heard of him, Benjamin Friedman. He was an ex-member of a certain religion, and then there's no better man than him to tell us who are not in that religion all about it and what they're up to. So in a similar way, what it seems to be saying here is this fella, Lynn Packer, who has done a lot of videos on YouTube about Operation Underground Railroad and Tim Ballard and the real truth behind the Sound of Freedom movie. It's saying here from the editor's note, Lynn Packer, I thought Lynn was a woman's name, but it's a man, it seems here anyway, is an award-winning investigative reporter, legal consultant, and author of Lying for the Lord, the Paul H. Dunn stories. Lynn graduated, and I don't know who Paul H. Dunn is, but that's, again, investigation for another day. Lynn graduated from the Utah State University with a degree in broadcast journalism. He served in the United States Army from 68 through 70 in Vietnam as a television news anchor and producer for the Armed Forces Vietnam Network, AFVN, Quang Tri Detachment. He was awarded the Bronze Star for 15 years. Mr. Packer reported for KSL Television News in Salt Lake City. For 10 years, Lynn was an adjunct professor teaching journalism at Brigham Young University and the University of Dortmund. Maybe there's a Dortmund in the US. Maybe there's even one in Utah, I don't know. But there's a Dortmund in Germany, of course, so I don't know if he was teaching overseas. Anyway, it says here, this publication called the AmericanCrimeJournal.com, we'd like to thank Mr. Packer for his service, dedication and contributions to journalism and ongoing quest for the truth. Well, that's all I want as well. I just want the truth. Can I handle the truth? As Tom Cruise might ask.
You want answers! I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
That's what I want anyway. I want the truth, no matter how disturbing or uncomfortable or unpleasant it might be. But I'll leave it there because, otherwise this will be far, far too long, and I didn't mean it to be this long at all. All I'm saying is that we have a clear connection there. At least they know each other. They stood beside each other somewhere in a photograph. Don't have a wider photograph than that, but I'll continue to look into it. So we do have a connection back to the head of the Mormon Church, Ballard. And, as we started out, we have a connection to the originator of Ballard, Utah, which is just outside of or very near where Skinwalker Ranch is. I'll have to go back one here just to remind us, and maybe I'll sort of finish like full circle, How do they describe where Skinwalker Ranch is in relation to Ballard? Located southeast of Ballard, Utah. So there are connections there. Sorry for not tying it up all neatly like maybe Amazing Polly might do with a boom and a boom and a boom. But JC and I will be talking a bit more about this in a live stream that we'll do on the same day as this video comes out, I think, as well. Okay. Cheers for now, and thanks for listening.